Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA,
Oh, what's up, friends? It's your girl, Jaquita.
and this is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you can experience more freedom and
Listen, friends, look at us.
Look at
okay,
us.
It's here together.
Yes.
We're here in a studio.
we can
okay?
touch each other. Look
Look at this.
Hey,
this is real.
this is
Okay,
real.
this ain't magic.
Look, we
okay,
see
this
each other.
ain't.
Yeah.
We don't know how to do enough
I don't
to
know.
make it
Yeah,
to
like
make
we're
it pretend.
actually here.
Yeah, we're definitely actually in the same room.
I
'cause-
made a whole trip to a
Listen.
whole other state
Listen,
just for y'all. I did this
Listen.
for you.
Listen, we are excited about the chemistry and really getting
Yes.
out some good points to you guys today because we've been working on something. We've been
We
working
have.
on a little segment
We have.
for the saints,
We
okay?
have.
We got a little something that we want to give to you, okay? This is actually brainchild of producer Joy, okay? So I just feel like it's really necessary
Yes,
that we
to
give
give
her
her
some
props.
credit because she fought for y'all.
She did.
Okay, she fought for y'all.
Yeah, this particular topic wasn't my favorite. I'll be honest. I was like,
Well,
I don't
dang,
know.
Ru.
I'm just saying, like, it wasn't something that I was extra excited about, but she convinced me. All right, so because I think what we're going to talk about in this little series is very relevant.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so the thing that we're really going to talk about before we do.
Oh, Lord, we always forget.
We always, and
We
y'all know
always
this.
forget, hey,
You know this.
Listen, we are building a family here.
Yes.
All right, we're building a
Yes.
community.
Yes.
We want all of y'all take a moment before we give you this before we give you these good nuggets.
Uh-huh.
Okay, take a moment, like, share, and subscribe.
Absolutely.
Okay, you got to finish my sentence.
Yeah.
Because we're in the same room
Well, I felt
now.
like
You
it
think
was
you
a- I felt like
you
it was
think
like
you can
a,
finish my sentences?
You know, yeah. Like,
Okay.
I felt like
Anyways,
it flowed,
hit
you
the
know?
like button, subscribe, hit that little notification bell. It'll send a little ding to your phone.
Ding.
Be like, hey, they on. They out here.
Ding.
Okay, so you can
Okay,
hear us
all right, that was enough.
when we drop the next episode.
So this is our series topic today. We're talking about when you're in crisis, right? And specifically thinking about those in the millennial
For sure.
generation, right? But this is really going to apply to everybody because everybody has moments where you are, and my father says this, right? And he says this, so before the storm, during the storm, after the storm. You're what did he say? You're either just coming out of trouble, headed in trouble, or headed to trouble.
Wise
Where-
words.
You know what I'm saying? You're
Wise
in
words,
one of
Pastor
those
Smith.
at
Wise
some
words.
point, right?
Yeah.
And so the reality is, you know, I don't know. We don't know where you are today specifically,
Yeah.
but a lot of people that are in this generation and the younger generations in particular feel very squeezed right now.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Feel very much in crisis. Feel like I don't know how I'm going to manage this life because of a lot of different things.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think, we're talking about millennials in crisis, but again, I think every episode we do, we might be talking to our middle adult community,
Yeah.
but I really think everybody can grab something from it.
Right.
But I really feel like with millennials especially, like we 30 and up now.
Yeah.
All right. We out here in these streets.
Yeah.
Okay. You've been through things before, but I do think that when you get to a moment, if you've been through like crisis after crisis and you've managed different shifts and changes in your life, that doesn't necessarily make those new things easier to navigate, but you can be really, really aware when something in your life is about to shift.
Yes.
Right. And because we've been through things before, we can start to see the signs.
Right.
In the role I had previously, I worked with a lot of 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, you know what's up and you know who you are. Okay, my 25-year-old crew. Okay, but I would be sitting and I'd be watching and I could see when things were about to shift.
Yeah.
I could see when people were about to make a new move or when something was going to affect the office and affect the team because I've been there before.
Right.
And so I think that millennials, especially in these middle adult years, you're at a space and time where you're realizing, especially if you're paying attention just to what's happening in the earth.
happening
We
in
don't
the
even
earth,
have to
that's right.
look at,
Yeah.
I know everybody right now is looking politically, but look at what's happening in the earth.
Yeah.
It's earthquakes and fires.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all kind of things indicating shift
Yes.
and change.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think that we're having to prepare ourselves for.
Correct.
Which is why I think this topic is so important.
And so with that, we're going to kind of break down what some of the things that we've had to unlearn, and has helped us in each one of these different stages, right? So today we're going to really talk about what it looks like if you're not feeling, if your shift is about to come, or a change is about to come.
Shift is about to come.
My Lord.
That didn't hit y'all. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. It hit me. Right. It just hit me.
All right. We good? You good?
I'm all right.
That's fantastic.
I'm all right.
Okay.
You know I'm sensitive.
Whenever the change is about to come and you kind of sense that, but it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Right. You're right before it. We want to, what we're calling, these tools.
Yeah.
When you are, like you said, a weather emergency or a medical emergency or things like that, there is some sort of kit. There's something that you have that you have to the side. You make sure, like, I have to have these things in case something happens.
For sure.
And so these are some things that we think are very important to put in your crisis kit.
For sure.
Okay. And so there's just a few things that have helped us really manage and helped us to be prepared before something changes, but do it before the change so that you're not thrown off. So we're going to go through them real quick and just talk a little bit about what we have, some of the things that we've unlearned about each one of these.
For sure.
So Quita, why don't you, what's the first one? What's the first
all right.
one?
So the thing that I really want to hone in, and I think it's kind of like the groundwork for what we're talking about here, because when you think about a toolkit, you have to have that stuff in place before you get to the emergency. That's the purpose of a toolkit. And I think one of the first things that you really need to focus on is community.
Come on.
Right? You need to know who's around you.
Yes.
Right? You need to be aware, not just of what's in you, you need to be aware of what's in the people that's around you.
Correct.
Right? Because I'm going to need to lean with me.
There it is. Okay. All right.
I'm going to need to lean on the people that's around me, right? But if I don't trust the gift that's in you, if I don't know God, if I don't know what you bring to the table, what you bring to my life, if I don't know the value add of the people that are around me, I'm going to miss out on the opportunity of using them in my crisis moment.
That's absolutely true.
Right? And so, the Bible says,
Lord, help us. Okay.
that you have to know those that you labor among.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to know the people that, labor is not just kind of like, we in the field working or we're at the job working, but friendship is work. Relationship is work.
Amen.
Right? And you have to be intentional about getting to know the people that you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah.
We all know the quote, right? That you are the sum of the 5 people that are closest to you.
Yeah.
Right? That you kind of become that.
Yeah.
Right? You have to know, what am I allowing to feed into me? Because ultimately, what you are allowing into your ears, what you are allowing into your spirit, those are the things that will be echoing through your mind as you go through a crisis moment.
Absolutely.
So who are you surrounding yourself with, and what are you allowing them to speak to you in the moments before the storm? Exactly.
And, something I did a recent Freedom Friday about the idea of
Check it out,
inventory.
Friends.
It's good. I mean, it helped me even just taking inventory as to what things are you putting inside of you.
Ooh.
Because the reality is whatever's in you is coming out. It's not an option, right?
Yeah.
What's coming in you is coming out.
That's
and
also
so
Bible.
Those voices that you have that are coming in your ear in your community, if they are not building you up, making you better, allowing you to progress, or if they are not helping you to reshape your mind, to unlearn some things, to do all the things that you need to do before you get to a point of change, then that's you might need to take care of that. You might need to figure out, who do I really need to be listening to? And I think it's important. One thing that I did actually recently, look on your recent call list in your phone.
Ooh.
And see who you've been talking to for real.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, see who you've been talking to. Look at your text messages. Who have you been communicating with?
Who you got pinned at the top?
Like, who you got pinned? Are these people putting me in a position to win? Or are they draining me?
Ooh.
Right? And so I think that is, you got to know that before you, because that is the energy you're taking into this next season, right?
And I think it's important. Darius Daniels has a really good book about relational IQ.
Yeah.
Right. And he names kind of like the different positions that people can take in your life. You know, they can be a friend.
Right.
They can be a, I forget the other,
Yeah,
okay.
I
All
don't
right.
know.
They
I
can be
think
a
about-
friend.
yeah.
I think it's like friend, mentor, and accomplice.
Sure.
All right, right. Like you
Sounds
have people.
great. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. I actually have the book.
Yeah.
Right. But you have people who are at different stages of your life.
Yeah.
And they don't always stay in the
No, in
same
that same
stage.
place. Right,
And
right,
a lot
right.
of times we don't prepare ourselves for relationships to shift. Right.
Yes.
You don't prepare that when God takes you from one season to another, that it's not that I lose that person.
Right.
It's that the nature of our relationship will shift. Right. But if you don't know, and the reason why it shifts is, and I think you and I were just talking about this the other day, that there is a difference between us being bonded because we have a bond, and there's a difference in being bonded because you're rooted in the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. If you are rooted, if we're both rooted in the same ideologies, the same values, the same faith, the same goals, if we're rooted in the same thing, when the storm comes, right, we're both going to be rooted.
Right.
If we're bonded together though, and the storm comes, that storm is coming to break you apart.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're not grounded in the same thing. And a lot of times when we're building communities, we focus so much on how I'm bonding with the person and not what that person is rooted in.
That's good. That's
because
real.
if they're not rooted in the same thing as you, it's not going to survive the crisis.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
very real. That's very real. Okay, so the next one
Yeah.
is understanding what your financial situation is.
Take it away, Ruth.
Okay. All right. So this is a really important thing in your preparedness kit, right? Is get your finances together.
Get your money
Okay?
right,
And I think a lot of
friends.
people are feeling that right now, right? I mean, because, you mentioned it earlier, politics, the economy, all these things, it seems like it's so, these tariffs, you know what I mean? Which, let's be honest. I don't know enough to talk about
We
tariffs
here
like
on
that.
the UnLearnT podcast have no political affiliations. Okay, we just want to make that known.
Well, yeah, that's
All
true.
right.
But
as a podcast, okay, don't come for us.
You're not wrong. And, the tariffs are,
the tariffs are the
they
tariffs.
look crazy. I
Yeah.
ain't a lot too. 100%, 184%, whatever it is. I don't know. All that stuff. I don't know enough. But I do know that it's going to impact us financially.
Yeah.
It's going to impact our pockets. We do know that much.
Yeah.
And so for those, we know that's coming. We know it's very close to coming. It might be coming on Monday. I don't know. Right. And so I think that it's important if you haven't started to go ahead and get real practical about your finances, right? Do the things that you don't want to do. And I think that it's really important to be okay doing things you don't want to do. Budget.
Like saving.
Right? Save. Reduce your lifestyle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like all those things that are going to be important for when it comes, right? And I think that our generation, we coined the phrase YOLO, right? You only live once, which is true. But
you're only broke once if you keep playing.
Well, you be broke.
Yobo, hobo. Okay, you better stop playing.
All right. Sure. Okay. But I do think that we've coined that phrase. And it's something that we really own, right? You only live once. I gotta live my best life now. And that's not necessary. Not necessary if you believe that your life will be beyond now. And so
Whoa. That was good.
Yes.
Sorry, because I think that YOLO emphasizes living in the moment,
right,
and living for the moment,
as if it's your last moment.
As if it is going to be your most important moment. So YOLO really emphasizes it's a 20s mindset, right?
Yeah,
it's a I'm young, happy, and free.
Yeah,
well, baby, let me tell you from this middle adult perspective, okay, let me tell you something. All right, them bills, they don't get less. they get more. Okay, the bills don't decline.
Yeah.
Okay, they increase.
Yeah.
Right. And if you start, there are so many areas of our lives, and I'm sure every middle adult will tell you that there are some things that they wish they had started in their 20s.
Yes.
So that they wouldn't
That's
be
correct.
fooled up with it now in their 30s.
That's absolutely right.
I wish I had started running in my 20s.
Hilarious.
Okay. And maybe it wouldn't be so difficult.
Well, that's true
in my
right
30s.
now, because these stairs that we have to come up is kind of a lot. And so I mean, so you ain't lying. You know what I'm saying? Like it's I think you're right. And so it really is just like whatever that is. Dave Ramsey is my guy. Okay, we know this.
Dave Ramsey.
I
Y'all
love
know
Dave
that.
Ramsey.
Y'all know that.
And he says this. He says, "Live like no one else, so later you can live like no one else." Right? It's self-explanatory what it means, but it's really profound. I think the undertone of that is living like no one else means you will probably do these things by yourself. And a lot of times, you know, even the community that you have may not be totally with the financial part of your journey. That was the case with me, and not in a bad way.
Yeah.
My community was very supportive, but I was the only one doing the
thought
thing
you
I
was
was
crazy.
doing at the time. They did think I was crazy, and so I think that you just have to make decisions that are best for you, right now, and pay attention. Be real about where you are financially. Pay attention to it, and create a plan so that you don't have you don't end up in real crisis when stuff really happens. Right?
Yeah. I think that you have to spend some time imagining the life that you want. Right.
Yeah.
You have to spend some time, friends, right? Take some time, vision board, journal, right? See the destination that you're trying to get to. So because when you have that vision in mind, you'll know that you're building something. So you won't try to have everything in the moment you're having now, because you were able to do your financial plan because you believed in where you were going.
100%.
A lot of
That's very
times
true.
we don't make plans.
That's very true.
Because we don't know where we're going.
That's very true.
Right? And so I got to enjoy
That's a
that.
great
That's
point.
the whole premise of YOLO.
Yeah.
Is you only live once in this moment right now.
Right.
Because it emphasizes the moment you're in versus the moment you're headed to. And you have to unlearn that.
Yes.
Right. And for me, I was the opposite of Ruth Abigail. I was like, how do I get my nails done? I ain't got enough to pay the electricity bill, but I could spend $20. And that's the other thing. Millennials, I think that we be like, $20.
I got $20.
$20.
Nothing. That's nothing.
It's only $20 until you spend it 10 times. Now it's $200. All right, don't that feel different? That had a gravity to it.
Yeah.
Gravitas.
Wow.
$200. All right, you done spent in 1 week because everything you got cost $20. Yeah. And so we have to be mindful that we're not.
That's real.
The moment you're building for is not the moment you're in.
That's right.
Right, and so you have to cater your life to where you're going and not to where you are.
Yeah, that's good. All right, what's the next one? Oh my.
Spiritual.
Oh God.
Grounding.
Here we
Right.
go.
Let's get our faith right.
Here we go.
In this season. And I think you will find that once you get in the moment, you are there in the moment with what you prepared before you got to that moment.
100%.
Right. And I think that that's so true about our faith life, right? Our commitment to growing deeper in our relationship with God, growing deeper in community with other believers, our commitment to making sure that we are staying grounded with God. And, I think it's something really to be said about staying current with God.
Okay.
Right? Like you cannot live off of the faith of your childhood.
No.
Okay. You cannot live off of the routine, the faith routine of your parents.
Right.
Right. You have to bring yourself up current with where God is in your life right now and really decide, what am I going to be committed to continuing to prepare, not just for the crisis moment, okay, because he's your father, okay, not just the king, all right, he's your father, right, and you're building relationship so that it can sustain you toward that vision that God has put on the inside of you, and that's going to require intentionality, and it is going to require, like y'all got face care routines, okay, y'all got, health routines, you go to your job at a certain time, you get that job, your 37.5 for me, or 40 hours for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving your job that time. You have to create a routine, a faith routine that will ground you, because again, where your roots are is where you will be after the storm. So set your roots down so that you can be stable.
So for those of you that have children, like we have a 10-year-old, and I had a routine. You know, we had a Sunday morning routine. We had Sundays.
Yeah.
That was the routine. So, and it was great. And we were good, and we were in a rhythm. And, but our son really started to, love anything that happened at the church, honestly. Like Wednesdays, anytime there was a, event, children's event, he wanted to go. Family night, you know, he would tell us. So we go because of him.
Yeah.
You know, if it was up to us, we do a strong Sunday morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, we strong. and so, but he wanted to do more. And then
I love you, Tyson. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And
good stuff, young man. Good stuff, young man.
And then we started volunteering because he was there so much that they would say, "Hey, do y'all want to come up and help once a month?" Now, I wanted to pray about it, but my husband said yes immediately. All right, so
well, you know, Ty gonna say yes regardless.
if it's helping anybody, the man gonna help.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, I'm gonna pray, but he's gonna help. we end up we're at church Sunday mornings, every Sunday morning, sometimes earlier for, you know, we volunteer. Wednesdays, any kind of event. Through that, we've built relationships with people, deeper relationships with people. Our son is he literally could go throughout the entire church. Everybody knows him. And so I say all that to say, I think for those of us with kids, they can actually anchor you in a way you don't even realize you need an anchor.
That's good.
Because you think you're doing it for them, but you realize it's for you too.
Yeah.
More than you thought you needed. And I'm grateful for that, because I'm more solid now in not just faith, but community through our faith community.
Yeah.
That if we needed anything, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And we have other people that we can support that know to call us when they're about to go through something.
Yeah.
Right. But I credit Tyson for that.
But I love, because, you know, Tyson's 10, right?
He's 10.
Right. I love that it's creating a foundation in him.
Yes.
So that when he gets to his crisis moment, he has roots that are dug down.
That's correct.
You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
And I think God is so intentional, which brings me back kind of to my point about community, right? Community anchors you.
Yeah.
Right. And getting in the right community, getting in the right faith community. You know, I know a lot of us have left church, or we don't attend church as regularly because you think church was what you grew up with. Find a church that works for you.
Find a church that works.
Find a church that teaches that word now.
Yeah.
Get that word.
Yeah, it needs to
Make sure
work
you
for
getting
you.
that word. And I know some people want that praise and worship.
Yeah.
Okay, you like a little worship music, like a little praise and worship team or choir, you know, whatever it is. But find something that's going to work for you, because you need that community.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think, and Tyson leading y'all there carried y'all through the first year of your marriage.
It did.
And so it was necessary.
It really did. It was necessary. Yeah. So I think the next thing that we think is really important to establish right before the storm is, and your preparedness kit, right, is you need to have a safe place.
My Lord.
You need to have a safe place.
Under the shadow
of
the Almighty.
There you go.
Okay, go ahead. I'm
All
sorry.
right. So, you know, when you are in, if a tornado, they tell you, like,
hunker down.
Find a place that's inside your house and have windows that's insulated, right, and stay there.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But so, you know, in each one of these situations, you know, at Angel Street, we're in a neighborhood that experiences some crime. Okay, so
Memphis is a neighborhood that experiences some crime.
Not too much.
I love you, Memphis. Thank you for feeding me.
So,
I appreciate you.
So we have protocols, right? When there are things which we've had, gunshots outside, things like this, what do we do? The
Yeah.
first thing we do is get into one place.
Yeah.
Right? The first thing we do is we make sure everybody is in the right location.
Ooh.
And so I think that is a huge part of being prepared. Where can you go?
Ooh, wait a minute.
When your crisis hits? You need to know that before it hits. We've experienced where we had a situation before we had a plan and after a plan. And before the plan, we had parents come. We didn't have a plan. My team was actually, I was not in the building, and I came back after they told me what happened, but there was some gunfire outside, and they were figuring out, there were kids, they were hearing the gunfire, and this was like AR-15 gunfire. It wasn't just pop, pop, pop. It was like machine gun, right? So it was really scary. And so, I had my team, they knew enough to do some things.
Yeah.
But there were also parents outside. It was during pickup time. So there were parents outside who were panicking and coming to the door, banging on the door. They're opening the door, right? Letting people in. They were just trying to figure out how to keep people safe. That is not smart. You don't let people, you have to, one of the things that we learned afterwards, after being trained and having a real plan in place, is no one in, no one out. Right?
Yeah.
Because when there's a crisis,
what schools do.
That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know who's coming in and out.
Yeah.
And so, that's one thing. The kid, like making sure that the kids' lights are off, right? Making sure that the kids are all in one space or backed into a corner, right? Luckily, we didn't have any windows in the room we were in, but there was just some different things we knew to do after we had a plan. And then not too long ago, we had another incident. It's a little different, but we had a little bit of a plan. And even after that happened, I was able to double down on a plan, right?
Listen.
So I say all that to say, the location, where are you? Where can you go when there is a crisis? We need to figure that out today.
No, because I hope y'all are hearing what I heard, because as soon as you started talking, all I kept hearing was, Adam, where are you? Right? Because when you are out of position, you are out of safety.
Yeah.
When you are out of position, when that crisis hits, you are not going to be in the place that will protect you, that will feed you, that will preserve you to make it through the moment.
Right.
And a lot of times, I think if we're honest with ourselves, you have to evaluate, where am I? Am I in the spot that the Lord told me to be in? Am I doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing? Because the moment you get out of position, you put yourself out of safety, right? And so when that crisis moment hits, sometimes you have to ask yourself, did I experience this crisis because I got out of position?
That's good, man.
Right?
That's
because
good.
a lot of things that we are experiencing is because we got out of position.
That's right.
Right? There is safety in being in the place that God assigned you to.
Yes.
Right? When Adam was in the garden, he put Adam in the garden in a specific spot. Everything he needed was in the spot.
Yeah.
Right? When you allow, and what gets you out of position, right? Your own lusts and desires.
Yep.
And the voice that you decided to follow, that was not the voice that gave you the instruction to be in that space.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times, and I know we keep harping on community, and I'm sorry to keep bringing it back,
everything.
but when you talk about safe place, you also have to talk about who are the people around you and what kind of space are they creating for you.
That's it.
Right? And a lot of times what makes the space unsafe is what kind of dependency have they created inside of you. People who create like a system where they're like, I need you to depend on me and to depend on my voice and to listen to my voice. And if you go another way, that's wrong. That's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
That's dangerous. Safe spaces are ones that empower and strengthen you to be able to move forward into what God has called you.
With or without them.
With or without them.
Right.
And I think, recently, producer Joy asked us, we were just in the car just chatting, and she was like, what would you tell people about, how to maintain lifelong friendships or how to build those friendships. And I think one of the things that really helped us is that when we started allowing each other to be able to think through and process through things independently, but with the counsel of each other, it it became something that strengthened me. And that's what made that space safe,
Yeah.
is because it was a space that I could go to be strengthened and not necessarily shifted.
Yes.
Right? People who only seek to push and push you, and they make their voice the prominent voice in your life, and they
Right.
make their aims and goals and visions, they try to impose that on you without you being able to settle in
Yeah.
yourself and make that decision. Not a safe space.
It's not a safe space.
And you have to evaluate your relationships to say, okay, is this a relationship that is coddling me?
Yeah.
Because that's coddling.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to make your own decisions. I'll make the decisions for you.
Right.
You don't have to do the thinking. I'll do the thinking for you. Right? Are you being coddled, or are you being empowered?
That's right. Yeah.
And coddling can look a lot of different ways,
Yeah.
right? It can be, I'm being coddled, to make me feel like there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
Like you got that friend that's like, oh no, I don't know why people keep saying that about you. There's nothing wrong with you, baby. No,
Yeah.
tell me the truth.
Yeah.
A
Well,
safe place is a truthful place.
And to that, I think that is something, safe doesn't mean soft, right? It doesn't mean you're soft. It doesn't mean that you're just, oh, look at you.
Let
and
me
when
tell you
need-
something.
No.
I ain't got a soft friend.
No,
Okay, that's
no,
not what I
what that
have
is.
right here.
And,
yeah.
and I think that that's something we have to unlearn, is that safety does not always mean comfortable.
yeah.
Matter of fact, in times of a literal storm, being safe 1000% won't mean being comfortable. You're
Listen.
usually in a place you don't really want to be.
Yeah.
But you're safe.
Yeah,
Right?
if you think about like when people like them little bomb shelters people are building,
nobody
or
wanna be
the
down
like
there.
the little end of time shelters.
No.
There's not
no.
futons and easy boys down, lazy
right-
boys down there.
Right down the street from where Angel Street is a house. It's called Slave Haven. And it was one of the places of the Underground Railroad stop. It's literally right down the street.
Okay, make it make sense.
I mean, I was getting there. Shoot.
Slave Haven is jarring.
That's what it's called. It's called
Yeah.
Slave Haven, and it's a museum. But underneath it is a bunker where slaves would be hidden.
Wow.
And if you take the tour, you can go down there, right?
yeah,
And it's smaller than the room we're in. It is crammed, and it's down below,
Yeah.
and you don't have you can't stand up,
Yeah.
right? It's the safest place for them.
My Lord.
Uncomfortable. You're not in a place that you want to stay long, but you're safe,
but
right?
see,
And
Yeah.
it's important. I think it's important to make that distinction and understand, where do I need to be, not where do I want to be
That's good.
someplace when something happens.
that's
right?
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's so important, and it kind of leads us into our next
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah.
So we really need to talk about, and I think this is something I harp on in every class I teach, every moment that I get to be in front of young adults. It's somewhere in the presentation. Self-awareness. We are really in a time where uniformity is broadcasted.
Yeah.
Like I used to say everybody's trying so hard to be different that we're all the same. Everybody is trying so hard to be, alternative, or I got a little spice here, or I do a little bit of different this. And yes, you are unique,
Yeah.
right? And yes, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, if you will, okay? Right? You are all of those things, but you have to take a moment and say, okay, I got all this uniqueness, but what am I hiding? What's underneath the surface, right? And that does not come from looking in a mirror. That comes from doing some introspection.
Yeah.
You cannot just keep looking on the outside of yourself
Yeah.
and trying to modify that. You need to look inwardly and reflect on what's there.
Yeah.
Right? And take inventory, not just of your strengths, but your potential pitfalls as well.
That's correct.
That's important
Yeah.
because ultimately when the crisis moment hits, let me tell you something. Okay, we're going to talk about it on the next episode. Okay, because one thing that a crisis will do is expose. The one thing a crisis is going to do is it's going to lay all your stuff
Yeah.
out on the surface. Nobody else may not see it, but you will suddenly become aware
Yeah.
of everything,
Yeah.
And so you have to be mindful. It would be it will be to your benefit,
Yes.
right, to be as aware as possible of what that crisis is what those weaknesses are, of who you really are. And this goes into like, well, how am I carrying things from my childhood? You may not have the full understanding of it yet, you may not have the revelation of it yet, but how have you been affected by the things that have happened? And we talked about it before. That emotional wheel.
Oh yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
Grab that.
It's important.
Because you
it's
need
very
to know.
helpful.
Yeah, you need to know, how am I responding when things hit me?
Yeah.
Right. What's my go-to response? Am I mad? Am I angry? Am I anxious? Am I nervous? Know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I like what you said. Right. Hold on. What'd you say? No, what'd you say?
Middle adults, y'all already know.
So yeah.
Okay, you got it.
The you know who you really are, right?
Yeah.
In a crisis, I would say just as a even broader statement, any extreme brings out who you really are. So the crisis will bring out who you really are, but also extreme greatness brings out who you really are.
Yo,
and so
talk about that.
Knowing,
yes.
like even though we're talking about, but like this idea of self-awareness, those pitfalls don't necessarily, they're not just limited to coming out when things are bad. Pitfalls can come out when things are really good. And you find out who you really are. I mean, you said it when people get revealed when you got a lot and when you got a little.
Listen, but I think that and that's one of the foundations of why we started the podcast, because Ruth Abigail and I both got in leadership roles.
Yeah.
Where we were like leading people, and a leadership role will show you immediately
it'll show you who you
your
are.
Deficiencies.
Absolutely.
Right, when people are depending on you to set vision and direction and mentorship and guidance, and each one of them need to be led differently, but you're the person at the top that people are looking to. I found myself in my quiet place being like, Lord, am I enough?
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is you can be enough if you practice. So if you surrender. I'm a big fan of that word right now. Right. You have to surrender the things that you are learning about yourself that don't work in the season that you're in.
Yeah.
You have to surrender that, and you have to allow God, and do it now in the place of peace.
Do it now, man. Do it in the
it
place
now.
of peace.
Don't
Do it
wait. Yeah, we just as a human race, we like to wait until we got no other options.
Because I don't think we believe. I think truly we just don't believe things can actually. We live in these bubbles where we think it's not going to get busted, and it will. Your bubble, whatever bubble you're in right now, will be bust by something. And you live a few years, and you know that, you learn that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that we don't change, we don't move, we do things slow. I'll do it later, I'll do it tomorrow. When truly tomorrow's not promised. Like that's just true. It's not promised, and you don't know what tomorrow is. And so we ought to do things when you learn them, start putting them into practice now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are wondering, how can I practice introspection? How can I evaluate kind of what we've listed in this toolkit right now? I would suggest the first thing you need to do is whatever way you get your thoughts out.
Yeah.
Right. If you need to start having more intentional conversation with your community members, let people know what you need from them. The people who love you, the people who care about you, let them know, hey, I'm in this space of my life where I'm trying to dig deeper into this. Can you support? Can you be an accountability partner? Can you walk with me through this? Right. Be intentional about, one, identifying your needs just as a person, and then allowing your community to come in and support you as you walk through that. So build that community, but be intentional about getting a journal. I cannot emphasize enough. I know I'm a talker.
Yeah.
Right. I like to talk things out because the things inside of my head, I don't understand them until they're outside of me and I can look at it. Right. I'm a talker, but I had to learn how to be a writer. Right. And so do both. Talk about it with people, but also write down some bullet points.
Yeah.
Even if you have a great conversation with somebody and you're like, you know what? I realize I need X, Y, and Z. Write it down.
Yeah, write it down. And I think also you can voice note it, talk it out and record it, so because maybe writing isn't your thing, and that's okay. But let me tell you something else. Pro tip: you put that junk on a voice note, upload to Chat GPT, Chat will write it for you. Now, and
Chat GPT is replacing me as Ruth Abigail's best friend.
Listen, let me just say
it's
this.
replacing all of us.
Let me say this.
As Ruth Abigail's number one.
Okay? He's dependable. He'll be there for you in the midnight hour. Okay?
First of all,
when
personifying AI is crazy.
But for real though,
okay.
For those who don't I get the journal, or you don't have time, because a lot of times my thoughts
yeah, because you could be driving,
driving,
do a voice note.
I think that is good. But if you want it on paper, and it's easy to transcribe it, you can put it through any kind of. I mean, these things are available, and I think we use them a lot of times for being productive and work stuff. But you can do it for your personal life too.
Yeah.
It can be helpful, and so I agree. I mean, you got to get it out. And you got to put it out there.
Listen,
yeah,
that's good stuff.
Yep.
I think that we have given you guys a good start to your toolkit, but I think that there's so much more that can be expounded on, especially as you're going through life.
Let's go over the toolkit real quick.
All right, go through it.
All right, so we got community.
For sure.
Make sure your community's tight. Make sure you have a financial plan together. Make sure you're good on your spiritual grounding. Make sure you have established a safe place.
Safety.
And make sure you're being, and make sure you're being self-aware. Okay?
I love it.
So, but there might be other things for you personally, right?
Listen, if you have something that you want to add to the toolkit, we want to know about it. Drop it in the chat. Send us a direct message. Put it in a story. We want to know, what are you putting in your crisis emergency preparedness kit so that we can share with the community? Because again, you all are part of our family.
Yep.
You're part of our community. And what we share together is what helps to strengthen us as we move moment to moment in these millennial streets.
My Lord. All right. That's it for now.
Yeah.
All right.
Good times, y'all.
Good times. So we will be with y'all later next week or something. All right. But until then, let's keep unlearning together so that we can all experience more freedom. Peace.